I am now live. Super cool. I totally thought clicking go live would ask me more questions before it actually happened, but here we are. I'm early, which is fine. For those of you that don't know, I'm Tara, artist at law, and this live stream is going to be an Ask Me Anything session. I have collected 14 questions from family and friends that are pretty common to Boatlife, so I'll be starting there, pulling them out of a hat. And yeah, I'm definitely going to wait a few minutes since I started early. But you can enter any of your questions into the chat and I will answer them live. I'll do a little more of an introduction. I'm coming up on a year of living in this sailboat. Very exciting. We got it in the Netherlands and sailed from the Netherlands out the North Sea Canal, so through Amsterdam, and that drops you into the North Sea, which is very, very cold. And then we went down the Dutch coast and stopped in Belgium, got into the English Channel, crossed the English Channel twice. I ended up missing one of those crossings because there's all kinds of rules about bringing pets into countries, and so the cat could not enter the UK via pleasure craft. So I was stuck in France for a few days. And then we got new sails in Poole. And then what did we do after Poole? It's becoming a blur. We sailed from Poole back across the English Channel, stopped in Camaret, double, triple, quadruple checked the weather, crossed the Bay of Biscay. It was beautiful and surprisingly very, very chill. Especially since it was January. It was some of the most beautiful sunsets and sunrises I'd ever seen. And for me, it was the most exciting part of the trip because every day that I was sailing, it got incrementally warmer. And being cold on the boat was a really big deal because the heater doesn't work. So whatever temperature it was outside was the same temperature inside the boat. It snowed on the boat in Poole. That was really intense for me. My husband loved it. He loves the cold. So there's that. We both want to be in different climates all the time. We're trying to find a good compromise. I think the Mediterranean will be good, though it does get very hot in summer. If you have suggestions, someone who loves snow, someone who loves the tropics, where can they live together and not both be completely miserable? Throw that in the comments. But anyway, the boat, after Bay of Biscay, we sailed all the way down Portugal, and there were these Atlantic common dolphins that played in the wake of the boat for, I want to just 20 minutes a day, almost every day the whole way down. It was super, super gorgeous. Really amazing. I also saw a whale. I couldn't tell what kind though, because I just caught it out of the glimpse of my eye, corner of my eye. And yeah, we got to Portimao in southern Portugal, hung out there for a while, and then we sailed down to the Canaries, which was oddly very eventful while not being very eventful. We had water in the fuel, which means the engine died and the generator died, so we had no electricity for 4 of the 6 days we were sailing, because the engine and the generator charge your batteries. And we just had really cheap lead acid batteries that came with the boat when we bought it. And we didn't want to drain them because it's not good for them and hard to charge them again. And we wanted to be sure that when we got to the harbor, we could use the radio, which needs electricity. So we just decided to turn everything off. We had a little solar power, like folding solar power panel to charge my husband's phone. So we kept checking our navigation to make sure that we were still on course. And that actually worked out really well. We couldn't download any new charts, so like no new weather updates or anything like that. But everything went fine. We stayed on course, checking navigation just once a day, and it was the only like really challenging part was there was no autopilot, which meant you had to be holding onto the wheel the entire time, and the wind was really low. So it was pretty like just intensely painful trying to steer and not lose the wind, which sometimes it just died entirely. But we still made it in the same amount of time as we estimated. On the longer end, we probably would have used the motor a lot more given how low the wind was had it not been contaminated with water. Anyway, getting to the Canaries, we felt like really, really good. We felt like we accomplished something major. And it was really exciting. And we've been here for almost 6 months. This was where we wanted to come to do a bunch of upgrades to the boat, like solar. So excited about solar. The solar on the boat is almost done. We needed an electrician to like really help us sort some things out because this boat has had a few owners and everybody has redone everything. But yeah, that's going well. We got a silent wind, so hopefully we will not be without any power ever again. But yeah, so it is now 6 o'clock my time, 10 a.m. Pacific, and since this is the official start time, I will rein it in. This is a Ask Me Anything session. I have collected 14 questions in this, lost one, in this hat. Relatively common boat life questions, but also stuff that people have asked me separately that I thought I would include. And I'm going to start answering them by pulling them out of the hat. I haven't seen them in a really long time, so it'll be somewhat candid. And if you have a question that you want to ask about boat life, you can put it in the comments and I will answer it live. So let's see here. The first question: how was the training course in Greece? Pros and cons, do you recommend? Absolutely. So we took a RIA, Royal Yachting Association course to get our ICC, International Certificate of Competence, for sailing. A lot of places I hear want to see that you have that when you arrive. No one's ever asked me for it, but you definitely need some kind of evidence that you know how to sail to get decent insurance. So my husband and I signed up for this course. We were in Greece for 2 weeks. I actually originally looked for it in the Netherlands, but it was actually logistically easier and less expensive to do it in Greece because to do it in the Netherlands, we would have had to either get a hotel room on the coast or taken the train for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, 12, 14 days total, to do the course because we didn't live near the coast. And of course, it's a little more expensive because it's the Netherlands. But then I found this school in Greece, the Aegean Sailing School. And it was actually cheaper to get a plane and go do it there because you slept on the boat for the whole time. I think there was one night we all had ashore between courses because it was 2 back-to-back plus an online course before you arrived. And it was really fun. really, really fun. The first week, our instructor was just like drills, drills, drills. And I remember after a certain point thinking like, I'm so exhausted and I don't remember sailing being this tiring and like physically demanding. And then I realized like, we're training, we're tacking way more than we need to, we're jibing, we're practicing maneuvers like man overboards. Like this isn't stuff you're normally going to be doing consistently when you sail. It was just about drilling it to get it into your head, and it was great. And then by the second week, we had a different instructor, John, who was fantastic, and he had the complete different style. It was great. He was just like, now navigate this course and, get us there. And he'd take us into harbors and have us do like figure eights and until we were bored, basically, which meant we were comfortable maneuvering the boat in a tiny marina. And he would have us essentially solve all of our own problems of like how to get somewhere, what to do with if the wind changes, parking the boat, as the Brits say. I learned a lot of British sailing terminology instead of American sailing terminology. Which is hilarious. But anyway, I totally recommend it. We met really great people. It was a fun time. And for those of you that have just joined, this is a live Ask Me Anything. I have questions I'm pulling out of a hat that I gathered before, and you can ask your question in the comments. Okay, so next question from the hat. Can you make art while sailing, or is that only when you're in a harbor? Yeah, definitely only when I'm in a marina. The thing about sailing is that, like, everything is moving all the time. I don't even keep these paintings on the wall. I take them down and stow them. Everything gets put away because you're doing this. And even in, like, a marina, I can't do any collage work because there's always a breeze going through the cabin. So if I'm like trying to cut out and put different pieces of paper together and like spread them all out so I can see everything, they're just going to blow away. So art definitely only happens in a marina. When the boat is somewhat steady, it will still move in a marina. Like if a large ship goes by, you notice. I've stumbled before in a marina because the boat suddenly went whoop. Okay. Oh, let's see. I have a question in the comments. What was the average age of people taking the lessons, and how much was the sailing school and the certificate? Okay, the average age, I would say it varied. I want to say everyone was, from what I could see from our boat and the other boats, people were probably in their late 20s and 30s. I don't remember what it cost. I feel kind of bad. It was a while ago, but you can check their website. It was really reasonable. I think it was just over 2,000 euros a person, which when you factor in that includes your lodging the entire time because you're sleeping on the boat. Yeah, and the certificate and how much we saved on it. Well, the fact that we could get insurance definitely made it worth it. They always say that the first year of boat ownership is the most expensive, and it's because you have to do one-offs like this. You have to get certified, you have to, fix all kinds of things on the boat, etc. But yeah. And follow-up question. That was 12 days, right? Yes, it was 12 days. It was, that price was for a package of 3 courses. So there was the online navigation class you took before you arrived. You can do that at your own pace. It was not hard. It did not take us very long. And then there's a 5-day course for, I forget exactly what they're called now. I think it was like day sailor, and then the next course is day skipper. And then all of that combined gets you your ICC, which is what is needed for essentially to sail in the Med. And like if you're going to charter a boat, which means rent a sailboat, at least one person renting it needs to have this certification so that the company, the charter company that rents boats, knows you know what you're doing and you're not like gonna just crash into other boats or the island or whatever. So yeah, which is why we practiced parking the boat a lot. One of the most stressful things you do as a sailor is park the boat. I saw a mug that this is how targeted my ads are now online. I saw a mug that said, "Sorry for what I said while docking the boat." It's a thing. Okay, so next hat question. How long do you think you'll live on a boat? Probably indefinitely. We've chosen Boatlife. We love this boat in particular. It's perfect for us. It's a 47 Centurion cutter. Cutter means it has 2 head sails, which is great because the boat can essentially steer itself if you get them trimmed just right, which happened when we were sailing without autopilot. There was 10 beautiful hours, maybe more, where I was sitting at the helm and I thought, oh, she's doing it. And I let go of the wheel and it was perfectly balanced. I didn't have to do anything. She steered herself the way we were going. That was great because then my husband and I actually got to hang out for a little bit. But yeah. Anyway, for those of you that have just joined, this is a Ask Me Anything session. It's the Boatlife edition. I suppose you could ask about other things because it is Ask Me Anything. I have questions I'm pulling from this hat. Oops, there goes the next one. Let's see. You can ask questions live and I'll answer them too. Okay. Most unexpected thing and what went unexpectedly smooth? Yes, my husband just chimed in. He said the Bay of Biscay went unexpectedly smooth. Absolutely. That bay is known for sinking ships. Basically, it's scary. It has terrible sea state, intense winds, and this is largely due to there's a huge continental shelf drop off, like super, super dramatic drop off. And that's why you get such a rough sea state. You know, I had countless people tell me, do not cross in winter. Just don't even do it. But we were trying to get across the Atlantic, and the Bay of Biscay was in between us and the Canary Islands, along with, you know, Spain and Portugal in between us and the Canaries. And so we just double, triple, quadruple checked the weather before we crossed. We made sure we had a solid 5-day forecast, and it was so mellow I didn't even notice the first continental shelf drop off. I feel like that was really lucky. The second continental shelf, when you get near northern Spain and Portugal, I noticed that one a little bit. I think mostly because it was my turn to cook. Okay, that question down. Let's see about another question. What have we got here? Have you rigged your Lyra yet? How or when will you? Okay, if you don't know, I have been doing circus for a really long time. A Lyra is the aerial hoop that hangs in the air. I used to coach that along with silks and some trapeze. I also love trapeze. And I have a beautiful powder-coated Lyra in the bow locker waiting for me to use it. I haven't rigged it yet. I've been waiting for warmer waters because I'm going to rig it off of the boom and have it pull the boom out over the water. So as I'm training, you know, if I fall in the water, and it's not super warm in the Canary Islands actually, because we're just in the North Atlantic. Technically it's tropical because we're just under 30 degrees latitude. We're at like 28. And there's like a couple little coral reefs on these islands, but it's not like the true tropics. It's not that warm. And it is windy all the time. And also we've been in a marina working on the boat the whole time, and you don't swim in a marina. That's gross. That is very gross. Anyway, for those of you that just joined, this is an Ask Me Anything session, Boatlife edition. You can ask other things because it's Ask Me Anything, ask in the comments, and I have questions here from a hat that I'm drawing from. Okay, let's see. Next question. What was the biggest adjustment to boat life? Stretching. Or the lack of stretching. When I lived on land, I would wake up every morning and just immediately like do 20-30 minutes of just stretching on the floor. I don't want to call it yoga because it wasn't really a yoga practice. It was just stretching in ways that felt good, to help my body and mind wake up, and like breathing and just quiet time to myself. I really like having slow, quiet mornings. And on a boat, there's just not a lot of floor space, so I have to sort out how I stretch. So for me, that was the biggest adjustment. I have lived on a boat before, so I did kind of know what to expect. Anyway, next hat question. Are you going to continue Coral, Kelp, and Community? Yes. Oops, it's fine. Coral, Kelp, and Community is my podcast. You can find it here on YouTube under podcast, or on whatever your favorite platform is. Basically, it was kind of my chance to just fangirl and talk to people who are doing amazing work in ocean spaces. I interviewed all kinds of people, a hobbyist who took the most beautiful underwater photography, people who worked at nonprofits like Surfers for Climate in Australia and the Inland Ocean Coalition in Colorado, nonprofits in France, and an attorney at the SPC, the Pacific Community. It was just so much fun. And I am probably going to revamp it with help from the Ocean Rights Coalition once this all gets settled down, because we're very mobile right now, and looking for a place to call home for a few years. And that'll just make it easier for me to like schedule recordings and stuff. So Coral, Kelp, and Community will be back. All right, next question. Hardest part of the trip so far? Removing the teak deck. It's painful. It's tedious. Yeah, most definitely. It is so close to being done right now. We have almost all the teak up, just got to deal with some hardware. Okay, next question. What's the shower situation? Isn't freshwater limited? Yes, it is. When we were sailing, even for 6 days straight, we didn't shower. It was also really cold. But you do that to conserve water, and also, even though I'm in a marina now and I can fill up water for free in my water tanks, I don't shower on the boat because it's just too much condensation, and I also don't want to have to refill my water tanks all the time. it's just super convenient to use the marina facilities. Question in the comments. Working from your boat, how is your internet connection even when you are out at sea? Are you able to do meetings, etc.? Yes. In theory, I could have a meeting while in the middle of the Atlantic if I wanted. I do have the Starlink. Got it before Elon went completely bonkers. Also, there's no other like equivalent competitor. There's just nothing else other than like satellite phones. And so yeah, the internet connection can be really good. I don't want to use it a lot while at sea because it's a power drain. But you know, it's good. It's perfect for turning it on for a little bit, checking navigation, downloading new data like weather and currents, and you know, texting family to let them know I'm alive. Okay, next. What made you opt for Boatlife and why now? This has been a childhood dream of mine to live on a boat. I grew up on stories of my parents traveling and sailing, and I read Dove when I was 10. It's such a sweet, wholesome story of this 16-year-old boy in the 60s who sails around the world alone. And I just always had this idea of boat life as just what I should be doing. It's freedom and it's peaceful. You are always living in, you have to live in harmony with the sea, with the wind. There's this sailing YouTube guy named Tom. He's English. And he says, we are all children of the tide. And I just love the idea of being connected to nature in such close proximity. Like, I believe we are all nature, but to actually get to live on the ocean, and to have dolphins play in the wake of my bow, and to travel in a completely sustainable way, like the wind is just always going to be there, and an affordable way. Like, I mean, I grew up in California. Have you seen house prices in California? I never imagined owning a home. And I also was worried, like, well, if I own a home, like, will I be able to travel? Will I be stuck in one place? And so this is like the practical and romantic solution. Anyway, all right. Next hat question. Was any food wasted after you didn't leave? So I did this huge amount of provisioning to cross the Atlantic, and then we didn't go. We left, and the engine was doing weird things. There was a weird vibration. The mast looked funny. It was just too many things went weird immediately. I think we're like an hour outside of Las Palmas, and we're like, nope, just turn it around, sort this out. Sure enough, we had to fix something on the engine, and it was a whole thing. Had riggers double check mast, and we got it all sorted. But at that point, we're like, it's too late to cross the Atlantic. Like, I mean, you can cross the Atlantic pretty much all year because the trade winds are just always there. But there's this thing called hurricane season. And we didn't want to go all the way across and then rush through the Caribbean. I mean, no one goes to the Caribbean to rush, right? You're there to chill. So we decided to wait. And yeah, we're going to get some jobs and go in a couple of years. Okay. Next hat question. And for those of you that just arrived, this is an Ask Me Anything session. I collected answers questions previously, and you can always ask in the comments and I'll answer live. Okay. This one, what do you miss most about living on land? Not a lot. Maybe gardening. I have plants on my boat. I just got a little, like, one of those flower box containers that hang outside of windows that can fit on the stern railing. Like, I do love being connected to the earth through gardening and growing my own food. And obviously on Boatlife, I don't have a yard. But other than that, it's fine. There's not much I miss. Yeah. Okay. So, next one. This is a big one. Are sailors extroverts or introverts? It seems like you could be really isolated at sea or not have a close friend group if you're traveling all the time. But I was at a bar near a marina last Friday, and there were a lot of very extroverted and pretty drunk sailors. What kind of people are you generally, and who are you as an individual, an introvert or an extrovert? Okay, that was a lot of questions in one go. I don't want to speak for all sailors about whether or not they're introverts or extroverts. I kind of assume that they are ambiverts, because you are isolated for a while sailing, especially if you're doing solo sailing. You are alone. My husband and I joke that when we're together, like, you don't count. It feels like we're alone because we're so comfortable with each other, which, if you're an introvert, you know how big of a compliment it is to say you don't count when it comes to alone time. But yeah, I mean, I have also been to bars where sailors are very extroverted and drunk and having a good time. And I don't know, maybe it's just a mixed crowd. Maybe it's a certain kind of temperament where you can handle both. Am I an extrovert or an introvert? I'm probably more introverted. Like, I do love going out and being with people and having community, but when my social battery is done, I am done. I have nothing left. I need to go home and I need to be alone. And it needs to happen immediately. Okay. Let me see. Goats? That's a question in the comments. Goats? Yes, of course. If I garden, I would love goats and chickens and sheep. And if I lived on land, this is the thing. I like doing all or nothing when it comes to my lifestyle. I hated living in rentals because, especially in the US, you can't do anything to it. It has to stay, like, in perfect condition, white walls, blah, blah, blah. You can't personalize it because it has to be, like, clean and ready and prepped for the next person that moves in. Because people move all the time in the US for work, and rents get raised, and the middle class is being crushed. And so it always just felt like a long-term hotel. So I felt like I needed to do one of two things. I either needed to buy a little house on a chunk of land and, like, straight up make everything my own, do wall murals and have vegetable beds and chickens and goats and sheep and grow food and just, like, dig in and sink into the community, or become a digital nomad and own my own boat. But either way, that feeling of, I don't know, like, I'm not in a hotel, I'm in my home. Okay. Last hat question. Can anyone do this, or are there certain restrictions, like medical disabilities or something else, that would be hard to manage on a sailboat? Well, I feel unqualified to answer this one because I don't have a medical disability or a physical disability. I mean, I imagine I'd like to think that anybody can do anything if they set their minds to it, if they really want it. I like thinking that. The reality is, you know, this is a tough life. You have to be somewhat strong and agile and bounce back when you fall down. I mean, just holding on to things while the boat is like rocking around and being able to walk through the boat becomes, a feat of balance and agility and grip strength. But that doesn't mean you can't do it if you have a disability. Medications, I could see being a struggle if they have to be refrigerated, because if you lose power, which hopefully you have a bunch of redundancies for that. Brett and I were actually just talking about, like, maybe we don't use the fridge. Maybe we turn the fridge off sometimes because it is such a power suck. But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. When I was like 12, I read Surfer Girl magazine, and I'll never forget this article of this other girl who was around the same age as me at the time. She lost part of her arm, I think, from about here. Her hand was gone. She lost part of her arm from below the elbow to a shark attack. And she could have been like, screw it, screw surfing, screw the ocean, not doing any of that ever again, terrifying near-death experience, lost a chunk of my limb, right? But that was not her attitude at all. She was just like, I'm gonna make this work. And her dad helped like fit something to her surfboard so she could stick her arm through it, and she kept paddling out and she kept surfing, and she still had just love and respect for sharks because it's their home. And I mean, there's ways to do stuff. And if a 12-year-old girl can keep surfing and keep loving sharks after that kind of experience, I'd like to think we can all keep following things that we're passionate about in some way or another. So that's it. That was all 14 questions from the hat. That was all of the questions in the comments. Thank you for joining me if you joined live. And if you're watching the recording, thanks for hanging out. And let me know if you want more Ask Me Anything sessions about boat life or anything. And one more question in the comments. JK, how many older people live on boats where you are? Actually, a lot. A lot. I think most of the sailors we met have been in their 60s and 70s because they're retired and it's a really affordable way to live and they're having a blast. I also read in a sailing club newsletter that this couple in their 90s just gave up boat life. They'd been living on sailboats together for, like, I don't know, 70 years or something. They met when they were young, kids in love, and sailed off into the sunset together and didn't stop sailing till they were in their 90s. I think by the time they're in their 90s, they had a motorboat, though. But still, like, how cool are those people? So yeah, age, I wouldn't worry about it. Anyway, so yeah. Again, thanks for joining, and we will probably do this again soon with other questions. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, throw it in the comments and I'll answer it next time or respond in the comments, etc. Yeah. And if you are a sailor with some kind of disability, let us know how you do it. Maybe you will be inspiring to someone else and they'll get to live their dream because you provided encouragement or a solution or something awesome like that. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great whatever time it is where you are. Bye.